Good morning, and welcome to First Parish in Framingham for worship on this getting sunnier Sunday morning. I'm the Reverend Aaron Stockwell, the senior minister, and it is an honor and a privilege to serve in this role. Whether you are dwelling in the shade or the sun, you are welcome here. Whether you are joining us online, let's take a moment to wave to everyone. All right. Whether you're joining us on live, I'm going to start that again. Whether you are joining us live, online, in person, or you're watching this later this afternoon or later this week, you are welcome. First Parish in Framingham is a welcoming congregation. We welcome and celebrate people of all genders, sexual orientations, races, ages, abilities, or beliefs. So whoever you are, wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. First Parish in Framingham has gathered together since 1701, and the thing that has helped us do that is love. Love has held our congregation together since 1701. It's a love that is larger than this courtyard, than that building, than the devices that you're watching us on. So welcome to First Parish in Framingham. And now we will listen to Rich Lawton sing and Dean Arvidson accompany him on hymn 95, There Is More Love Somewhere.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more joy somewhere.
Our call to worship this morning comes from Kristen Harper from the Voices from the Margins collection. Each day provides us with an opportunity to love again, to hurt again, to embrace joy, to experience unease, to discover the tragic. Each day provides us with the opportunity to live. This day is no different. This hour no more unique than the last, except maybe today, maybe now, among friends and fellow journeyers, maybe for the first time, maybe silently, we can share ourselves. Now, as we light the chalice, we invite those at home on Zoom to light their own chalices and share in the chat. The chalice is lit in my home.
Let songs of hope and faith arise. Let peace, goodwill,
Will
on
on
earth be
things
sung. Through every land, by every tongue.
Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve all life with compassion, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. This is our great covenant, one with another and with our God.
Our story this morning is by Oliver Jeffers, and he writes this story in a poem. And so I hope you'll indulge this little bit of poetry for our time for all ages this morning. What shall we build, you and I? Let's gather all our tools for a start, for putting together and taking apart. Let's build a door where there was none. We'll build a house to be our home. I'll build your future, and you'll build mine. We'll build a watch to keep our time. We'll build some love to set aside and build a hole where we can hide. A fortress to keep our enemies out and higher walls for when they shout. But you don't always lose and you don't always win. So we'll build a gate to let them in. We'll build a table to drink our tea and say, I'm sorry. Me too. Me three. We'll build a tower to watch the sky and other worlds that pass us by. Let's build a tunnel to anywhere. Let's build a road to the moon. Let's build a comfy place to rest, for we'll be tired soon. Let's build a boat that can't be broken, that will not sink or be cracked open. A place to stay when all is lost, to keep the things we love the most. We'll put these favorite things beside the earlier love we set aside. I think that we may want them later, when times are hard and needs are greater. But first things first, let's build a fire, for we've planned a lot and now we're tired. It'll keep us warm, like when we're born. Then we'll say goodnight as all's all right. These are the things we'll build, you and I.
We now come to the time in our service that we set aside for sharing of the things which weigh deepest on our hearts. These joys, all joys today, were submitted in advance. From Becky Lawrence, who writes, my brother in England has been pretty sick from COVID and side effects even though he is fully vaccinated. He has had gout in both ankles with it, so has been unable to even walk. He's now on steroids and has started to turn a corner. He's able to walk a few steps this weekend, so is on a long road to recovery. This from Marianne Orlando, who writes that she is delighted to be singing in the Pirates of Penzance next month. And this joy from Karen Greenberger, who writes that she's enjoying the beauty of fall foliage, pumpkins, and the cooler air. We, of course, keep in mind all of those joys and sorrows which remain too tender to share today. Let's now take a moment to pause, to focus on our breath in and our breath out, to center ourselves in the ways that we know best, That might be putting both of your feet on the earth. That might be noticing how the chair holds your body. O Spirit of life and love, named and unnamed, who calls us each beloved, we give thanks for the joys that have been shared today. We give thanks for the wind touching our face, the skittering of leaves, and the other sounds of nature and humanity around us. I give thanks for the leaders of this congregation and the staff and everyone else who has made this congregation what it is. Even though there is joy, there is also sorrow. There are people who are ill, mourning, people who are healing, people who are lonely, people struggling with addiction. All those weeks that I say, let us find ways to reach out. Let us actually reach out today and lend a helping hand or a listening ear. We know, too, that there are war-torn parts of our world, ranging from our neighbor's home to further abroad. May we work to bring more justice into our world, pulling on the arc of the universe as it bends towards justice. From time to time, our humanity shows a little bit too much, perhaps. We fumble, we put up barriers between others. We say things that we didn't mean to say, or we are otherwise hurtful. Let us be reminded that we are loved and lovable, and there is always time to move into right relationship once again by saying, I'm sorry, how could I do better? May all that is holy and sacred hear these words. Amen. I invite you now to a little bit more quiet. This might be the only time you get told that you can do absolutely nothing. Let us sit in the quiet of this space for 1 minute to do nothing or pray the prayers of our own hearts. May it be so. This week's offering is benefiting a Share the Plate collection that is coming right from our own congregation, actually. It is a project that we are calling the Just Like Me Book Donation Project. This effort will help purchase books for Head Start classrooms. The Just Like Me name for this project represents that we will be purchasing illustrated children's books for these classrooms that feature characters who look like the children who are in these classrooms. They will have brown and black faces and will tell stories that might be familiar to the children in those classrooms. Our goal is to raise money to purchase 100 of these books by October 30th. We are on our way to doing this. I invite you to please donate generously, either by dropping your donation in the offering plate at the back of our gathering space. You can also look at some of the books we'll be purchasing, or by donating online. A link that'll send the donation directly there was sent out in an email yesterday. And now it is time for our children and teachers to head off to religious exploration. Dean, a little traveling music, please. Our reading today comes from Teresa Soto's wonderful meditation manual, Spilling the Light. They are a minister who serves our congregation in Oakland, California, and they are a phenomenal poet as well. They write this piece called Remembering the Future. Can we develop the skill of remembering the future? Can we commit to building the community that will extend into a time that we only know by memory because it will outlast us? Memorize the compass points of the day yet to come, the truth, the love, the fire, the endless yes of the horizon. Shake the scales from your imagination. Reach, stretch, rise. There is no more time for pretending that everything can be all right without your care, without your attention. You can mourn. I completely lost my place. You can mourn, grief being more real at times than the promise of the sunrise, more real than the peace of the moon that by inconsistent silver turns disappears. And yet, while we mourn changes, losses, deceptions, and betrayals, beneath the ash, we find ember. We weep, and then, as we have learned from labor movements, we organize. Remember the day toward which we gather, the tomorrow toward which we advance. It is with your actions today that you engage that muscle memory, that sense of smell, that ragged velvet feel of a day that you have never lived. It is also your day. Remember it well. In 2013, two committed Unitarian Universalists, Paula Cole Jones and Bruce Pollock Johnson, began the work of proposing an eighth principle. As you know, our faith tradition has 7 principles currently which guide our life together as a congregation. The Unitarian Universalist Association first adopted them in our current form as 6 of them in 1985, and then added the 7th principle in 1995. Otherwise, they have remained unchanged for about 35 to 36 years. With the 8th principle, the proposed text is this: we, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote, journeying toward spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. My sermon this morning is titled Building the Prophetic Beloved Community, which is the work that the eighth principle requires us to do. And I will break down, and I need to break down, the three parts of the sermon title: building, prophetic, and beloved community. We won't unpack the definite article today. So, building. It means the work that we will do, hopefully, as we study and consider the eighth principle. It is not creating out of nothing, but rather creating using the materials that we have, the skills that we have, the reasons that we are Unitarian Universalist. So why should we adopt an eighth principle? Why should we work toward spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community that will accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions? Well, first of all, to quote JFK, we should do it not because it is easy, but because it is hard. We should adopt it because what we observe changes. We participate in change, and what we observe changes us as well. We should adopt it because hearts are breaking. We should adopt it because we have to be transformed. Paula Cole-Jones, a member of the Central East Regional staff of our association, noticed over 15 years of work with Unitarian Universalists that, she writes, a person can believe that they are being a good Unitarian Universalist and following the seven principles without thinking about or dealing with racism and other oppressions at the systemic level. Now, there are some who say the first principle covers it. We shouldn't work on adopting this. They say we already affirm and promote everyone's dignity. But I wonder if that is the truth. We can paint the facade to look however we want, but I think we also have to examine the structure inside to see if the structure is sturdy. We also have to commit to doing things differently. It should startle us that we need to add this eighth principle, a principle which is about expanding love. If it were true, if all we wanted to cover in the first principle were true, we wouldn't have people asking for this. Here we are. Now, there are a few others who say that we shouldn't adopt an eighth principle because there is already an Article 2 commission looking at restructuring the principles and the sources. That's where they live in the denomination's bylaws. So we should just wait and see what is proposed and then embrace the work then. And if you're one of those people that says that, I say I'm so glad that you're paying attention to denominational affairs on that level. That is great. I want to chat more with you about that. And I also say, so what? The chances are incredibly high that we will still need to do this work and that the work of the eighth principle will make its way into whatever principles we have going forward. Now, there's an option that I know quite a few of our sibling congregations have taken when it came to becoming welcoming congregations. As you might know, the welcoming congregation process is a process by which congregations study and vote to become more welcoming to LGBTQ people, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer people, and not just welcome, but celebrate them. A history of this program says and reminds us that it was introduced in 1989 after a study found that the Unitarian Universalist Association had, yes, been on record since the 1970s as supporting the rights and worth of lesbian, gay, bisexual people, but they found that the lived experience of these people in our congregations spoke a different and painful truth. The committee published a report that was 21 pages long that exposed many negative attitudes, deep prejudices, and profound ignorance about bisexual, gay, and lesbian people, which resulted in the exclusion of bisexual, gay, and lesbian people from our congregations. I forget what year we became a welcoming congregation. Anybody want to shout that out if you know it? No? Okay, that's fine. If your minister doesn't know it, then that's all right that you don't either. Now, along the way, several of our congregations said, you know what? We're going to be welcoming anyways. We should just vote on it and be done with it. I really understand this impulse. Social justice by certification is tempting and makes us feel good. It is something tangible that you can point to and say, we did it. Now, there's a term I think we used in Boy Scouts to describe Eagle Scouts who did the paperwork but didn't really grow as a result of the path towards becoming an Eagle Scout. We called them paper eagles. Congregations that simply adopted and said that they were welcoming congregation are paper welcoming congregations. They did not allow themselves to be changed by the process. The work in becoming a welcoming congregation is arduous. It's meant to change you. It's made to make you feel uncomfortable or more welcoming. It's also meant to add more joy to the world. About 120 of our sibling congregations have already adopted the 8th principle. And they all know that we don't grow from a place of comfort. Comfort is important for healing and rest, but growth comes when you really have to work. So my hope is that both myself and the diversity and equity exploration team over the next year will present opportunities to learn why an 8th principle is necessary, and that you will attend those opportunities, and that perhaps at the congregational meeting in June, we will adopt it. Over the next year, I'll preach a few sermons explaining and exploring the need for this. We will dig into our history as a congregation. It may be uncomfortable, but that will be fine. There is joy in doing something wrong, realizing that we did it wrong, and realizing we can do it better the next time. So that's building. Prophetic. Now, when I say the word prophetic, what comes to mind? What do you think of? Oftentimes, Unitarian Universalists think of someone seeing the future. It's not how I see it. When it comes to religious language, I have very little baggage, maybe not even a carry-on, but a personal item perhaps. So for me, prophets have always been something that we as individuals can be. When I read James Luther Adams' work in seminary, it made sense. He said that the prophethood of all believers is an institution whose people, rooted in the biblical and liberal traditions, learn to judge and correct their society. Why wouldn't we want to be prophets? When my Hebrew Scriptures professor described the work of the prophets as being mediators between the created and the creator, it made sense. When he described the work of prophets as not seeing the future, but as seeing through, it made sense. When I read the words of Teresa Soto saying that we must remember the future, that feels prophetic as well. We work about reading between the lines and naming the music in the room. But becoming a prophet isn't something that we are comfortable with. We don't feel like we are trained to do it. We don't have to be trained to do it. I'm not asking us, extending the music metaphor, to be musicologists who understand the instrumentation and origins of the music or the injustice. I'm only asking us to be able to name that tune and to see if we can correct a little of the dissonance and tune things towards harmony. We'll explore this work more, what it means to be prophetic. But I think it starts with the work of thinking about who your heart breaks for, and then going further. What is causing that heartbreak? What would heal those people? What structures need to be changed? How do other humans cause suffering to happen, and what can we do to stop it? And then the final part of this sermon title, Beloved Community. When I say beloved community, are there any associations that come up for you with that? For me, it's the signs that read building the beloved community that lined the wooded quad of Andover Newton Theological School.
That
I
might be a
don't know if
dog
we were really doing that there. I don't think that's enough, just having signs that say that's what we're doing. What I have come to realize as my life unfolds is that believing and creating the beloved community is countercultural. The dominant paradigm says that there is an us and a them. It says that charity works are charity, and it goes one way. It focuses only on how one will be changed by the gifts, the money, the time that we bestow on them, not how we will change because of our interactions. The dominant paradigm never asks what another might give us. It never calls the question on why we need to help in the first place. The beloved community that we seek to build says we are all in this together. What affects one of us affects us all. We are connected wherever we are coming from, whether that's in North Framingham or south of Route 135 or other places beyond. While Martin Luther King popularized it, and is most likely where you know beloved community from, Josiah Royce is the one who coined the phrase. Royce said this. He characterized the beloved community as a, quote, spiritual or divine community capable of achieving the highest good as well as the common good. Royce believed that every proposed reform, every moral deed is to be tested by whether and to what extent it contributes to the realization of the beloved community. When one cannot find the beloved community, he writes, she needs to take steps to create it. And if there is not evidence of the existence of such a community, then the rule to live by is to act so as to hasten its coming. I know, y'all, this sounds like it's wicked messy, like it's wicked tough stuff. But friends, it is worth it. James Luther Adams, the giant of Unitarian Universalist theology, said, an unexamined faith is not worth having, for it can only be true by accident. An unexamined faith is not worth having, for it can only be true by accident. It is worth doing this work to expand our joy. For what I know is true is with that first principle, it says that we are all beloved. And the seventh principle says we are all tangled up with each other. We are all interconnected. But over the years, the connections have become blocked. There are love blockages here. And the eighth principle works to remove some of those love blockages. It allows us to become reconnected with beloveds elsewhere to form beloved community. This is the work of collective liberation. The work of moving towards adopting this eighth principle in our congregation is simple. We first have to understand why this work is important, what this work might look like, and then we commit to doing it. My friends gathered here, I leave you with these truths. What we study, we change. What we study and observe changes us. The work we set out to do will be hard, and that is the point. It will also maybe be easier than we even thought. For while comfort is necessary when healing from trauma or hurt is needed, growth only happens when you are in the discomfort zone. May it be so, and amen.
My life flows on in endless song, creation. I hear the rill, the vaulted hymn that hails a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? What though the tempest round me roars, I know the truth it liveth. What though the darkness round me close, songs in the night it giveth. Through all the jam that shake my soul, and him that rock is ringing, it sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? Tyrants tremble as they hear the bells of freedom ringing. When friends rejoice, both far and near, how can I keep from singing? To prison cell and dungeon vile, our thoughts to them are winging. When friends by shame are undefiled, how can I keep from singing?
Thank you, Rich. That was beautiful. Our time together is drawing to a close, so we will extinguish the flame of our chalice, but as we do so, we remember that we carry that flame out into the world. I believe that the children in our religious exploration programs are still on their scavenger hunt, so parents, do not collect your children quite yet, or guardians, not quite yet. They'll be walking around the church and going up here as they do their scavenger hunt. So as we leave this friendly place, let us take the light of love out into the world and use it to brighten our pathways. And when we need to rest or recharge, be challenged or affirmed, may that light guide us safely home. May we hold the light always, and the light hold us always. Amen, and go in peace.